Hey guys, what's up? Lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss the 2014 horror film It Follows, directed by David Robert Mitchell, composed by Disaster Piece. There's a slew of actors and actresses in this film, most of which I don't know much of their work. I do know the kid who played Paul. His name's Keir. I forget his last name, but he's in Atypical. It's a Netflix show. He was in It's Kind of a Funny Story. He's been in a lot of films that I'm actually familiar with his work. He's a great actor. So the plot of this film is unlike any horror film we've seen before. So there's an STD, right, a sexually transmitted disease, and the disease itself is this entity that will follow you, and then once it catches you, it's going to kill you unless you pass it on to somebody else. So you have to have sex with someone to then get rid of the stalker, the follower. But if the entity kills that person, then you still have to get rid of it. Like if I slept with someone and they gave me this ghost, right? I then have to sleep with someone to give them the ghost. But then if that person is killed by the ghost, then the ghost will try to come back to me unless I sleep with another person to pass it on and continue the cycle, right? There's no origin of where this comes from, and we don't actually know if the ghost entity, whatever the follower is actually killed or not. So the movie starts in a pool and it ends in a pool. You have this girl, Jay, she's the main character. She sleeps with this boy, Hugh, whose real name is Jeff. Hugh gives her this follower thing, but then he winds up chloroforming her and kidnapping her and explains to her, what this ghost is going to do. It's going to kill you if you don't, sleep with someone and get rid of it and pass it on. Kind of just what I explained. But this entity just walks. It doesn't run. So you can drive 3 miles away, and however long it takes to walk 3 miles, average person can walk 15 minutes in a mile, 15 minutes for a mile. So in 45 minutes, the ghost might come to you, kind of a thing, and try to kill you, unless you somehow try to defeat it. So Jay and her friends are trying to figure out a way. Her neighbor Greg sleeps with her to pass on the stalker, but then the stalker catches up to Greg and kills Greg and goes back after Jay. Jay and friends then try to kill said entity in a pool, which is where the film kind of ends. And we don't actually know if the entity was killed or not, because there's electrocution, there was gunshot, there was, blood, etc. But the person with the STD is the only one who can see the STD. Everybody else can't really see it. But it's there because you can physically see them moving things. You can, put a sheet over the entity and the entity's there. But the entity always takes different forms. So it could be a random stranger. It could be someone you know. You never know. It really depends on the moment. And then at the very end, Jay sleeps with her friend Paul, who is played by Keir, who we just mentioned. So we don't actually know if Keir passed it on to the prostitute we saw him with, and then she passed it on to someone else, because the very, very final scene, we see someone following Jay and Paul. But is it someone actually following them, as in the entity, or is it just a coinky-dink? And that's the point. It's oh my God, what just happened? How's this ending? Makes you think. This has like a 90-something% Rotten Tomatoes. This film was 5 years ago, and Disaster Piece did a phenomenal job at the soundtrack because it keeps up with that synth vibe. Now, this is 2014. Stranger Things came out in 2016, which again had that synth vibe kind of bit. 2016, 2017, and 2019. Those are the three, bits of Stranger Things, the glory that is Stranger Things. So we know that horror film and synth vibe works very, very well thanks to slasher films in the 80s. That's why American Horror Story 1984, which premieres soon, is going to be kick-ass because it's going to have that synth vibe, I'm a sucker for a good synth. So have you guys seen It Follows? Are you as creeped out every time you see it as I am? Because it is disturbing in many aspects. There's no drug use. There's horror, there's sex, there's violence. Good old horror film, right? But a very nice, beautiful take and twist, and makes you think, was that an actual ghost following them? Or was it just a coinky-dink? Mucho mahalo, guys.